In a Shanghai apartment, a new mom was feeding her newborn, her expression a mix of pure love and low-key jealousy. She could not help but think how this little dude got to just peace out after a meal while she was running on zero sleep. But honestly, she was totally cool with the sacrifice. If it meant her kid grew up strong, she would lose all the sleep in the world. Meanwhile, the baby, Lin Zichin, was going to town on his milk like it was an energy drink. Every gulp felt like hitting a power-up button. On the inside, he knew the deal. He had been reincarnated into this world, his brain still kinda mushy from the trip. Then bam! A system window popped into his vision like a video game menu. It showed his name, Lin Zichin, his age, a whopping 33 days old, and his current stats, basic biological level, no special skills unlocked. Fast forward to 3 months old. Little Zichin stretched one of his tiny legs and gave a random kick. His parents totally lost it, celebrating like he had just won the World Cup. What they did not get was that this was not just baby stuff, it was his system notifying him he had just completed his first quest. One clumsy kick, and the kid had already unlocked a premium attribute. By 4 months, he was crawling around like a secret agent on a stealth mission, keeping his new skills on the down low. At 5 months, he was straight up walking like a tiny landlord inspecting his property. When he hit 6 months, he finally revealed he could sit and crawl properly, playing the part of a normal baby like a pro. This was not the same Earth he remembered. This world had gone through some crazy mutations. Now there were these terrifying creatures called errant beasts roaming around. To survive, humanity had developed 2 paths: mechanical ascension, basically turning people into tech-enhanced cyborgs, and advanced gene modification, mixing human and beast DNA to get monster powers. Zichin stayed quiet, but internally he was shook. Lucky for him, he had his own system. His plan was simple: lay low, power up in secret, and survive this dangerous new world without anybody knowing he was anything but a regular baby. Not long after, a new neighbor moved in next door with her young daughter, Shinxin. The instant Zichin saw her, he just knew this kid was gonna be his first friend in this weird new world. By 7 months, thanks to his cheat code level intelligence, Zichin had already nailed the basics: running, jumping, and even holding a conversation. By 8 months, the dude was secretly grinding like a mini fitness freak, cranking out sit-ups and push-ups every time his parents glanced away. To them, he was just a chubby baby drowning in drool on a pillow. In reality, he was halfway to a 6-pack before his first birthday. Then one day, during bath time, his mom totally froze, like she had just spotted a ghost. His dad rushed over, thinking something was seriously wrong. But all she did was point at their 8-month-old, who was casually flexing a set of abs most grown men could not get after years of gym memberships. After a second, his dad just shrugged and decided their kid had to be some kind of prodigy. He figured Zichin's huge appetite and early gains meant he was destined to become either a top-tier gene fuser or a cyborg. Zichin, sweating on the inside, was just relieved he had not been totally exposed. Zichin knew he was not the only little genius on this mutated Earth. One night, while watching the news with his mom, a story came on about some gifted 2-year-old from a martial arts family in the capital who could lift a 20-kilogram dumbbell one-handed. Zichin's mom ruffled his hair, looking proud and kinda smug, like her boy was just as good as those elite mini-bosses. Zichin wondered quietly if he would be able to pull off the same thing when he turned 2. 2 years flew by, and sure enough, on his 2nd birthday, Zichin lifted 20 kilograms with one hand. Just then, his mom called him out to the living room because Shinxin had come over to play. He walked out and found her there, still babbling like toddlers do. To Zichin, the difference between them was obvious. While he was busy training every chance he got, all she did was eat and sleep. Still, they stuck together like glue, and she basically became his living, breathing weighted vest. But this training vest came with one embarrassing flaw. One afternoon, while she was sitting on him during one of his workouts, she accidentally peed all over him. At 3 years old, Zichin was already a little freak of nature, able to lift a whopping 40 kilos with one hand. One day, he caught a news story about some 4-year-old so-called prodigy in the capital who was proudly hoisting 30 kilograms. Zichin did the math in his head and knew, without a doubt, that he had already been way stronger than that kid at the same age. Checking his stats window, yep, still stuck at ordinary Tier 1, he started wondering what Tier 2 would even feel like. Maybe it meant finally leaving human limits in the dust. With those questions buzzing in his brain, he finally stepped outside his house for the first time. The world blew his mind. Beast people and robots were just strolling down the street like it was no big deal. He guessed they were probably gene fuses and cyborgs. His first stop, the library. Since his parents were kinda strict about screen time, books were his best bet for answers. He went on a reading rampage, grabbing anything that looked useful and devouring it. When his mom asked why he was so into those kinds of books, his friend Chinghan's mom, Sumeng, joked it must be his genius genes. Chinghan herself tried to offer him cookies, but Zichin politely shut that down. He told her to keep them, saying he had reading to do. And read he did. He slowly started piecing together how this mutated world really worked. Everything living was ranked into 6 biological levels: ordinary, advanced, rare, epic, legendary, and mythical, each with 9 tiers. Right on cue, his system window popped up with a new quest. From then on, he could train both his body and his mind. So at 4 years old, Zichin became a grinding machine, lifting, reading, refusing to slack off. Soon after starting kindergarten, he finally broke through to ordinary Tier 2. The upgrade was no joke. He could now lift 80 kilograms with one hand. Zichin knew that with great power comes great responsibility, or whatever. So when some little jerk started bullying Chinghan, Zichin stepped in like a tiny bodyguard on a mission. But instead of throwing punches, he pulled out the most terrifying weapon in his arsenal. He threatened them with daily bedwetting attacks. Just the thought of waking up in a Saga disaster zone was enough to make the bullies burst into tears on the spot. Her face lit up like she just hired the weirdest but most effective bodyguard in the world. Then, another system window flashed in front of Zichin. Surprisingly, just one shout had triggered a new quest before the old one was even finished. He realized he could stack quests now, work on multiple at the same time. The dude was pumped. Half a year later, he finally wrapped up his reading quest. His learning ability shot through the roof, to the absolute peak of what any human could ever achieve. Time flew by, and before anyone knew it, both he and Chinghan were nearly 7, just in time to graduate kindergarten. Over the break before elementary school, Zichin kept grinding harder than ever. He was leaping over 2 meters and sprinting faster than 8 seconds. Thanks to that so-called celestial wisdom boosting his brain, he had already breezed through most of the elementary curriculum on his own. When school finally started, he was already cruising through middle and even high school material. Competitions were a total snooze fest. Winning awards felt pointless, just for show. His real mission was becoming the undisputed king of the school, ASAP. During free time, he would give Chinghan private tutoring sessions. She was not some genius, but she was crazy obedient and hardworking, so she improved fast. By the end of the first semester, she was sitting pretty in second place, right behind Zichin himself, which honestly just helped him level up his rep even quicker. He also dominated every sports meet, smashing record after record. Just when he thought elementary school was gonna be his chill, peaceful playground, everything changed. A new transfer student showed up in class. Zichin knew right away something was off. She had this weird vibe, like, not fully human. When she walked in, the whole class stared. Chinghan leaned toward Zichin, whispering in awe that her hair looked like winter snowflakes. But Zichin was too busy in his own head to answer. This new girl felt different. She quietly took a seat behind him. Over the next few days, Zichin kept a close eye. She did not talk to anyone. After class, she just lay her head down and did not move. Sometimes classmates took sneaky pics of her while she slept. She barely even went to the bathroom. At first, everyone was curious, but eventually, they lost interest and things went back to normal. Then, over a month later, things got weird again. She started leaking some strange white liquid. Nobody knew what it was, but man, did it stink. One day, 2 girls caught a whiff, pinched their noses, and started making fun of her, loudly complaining about the nasty smell. Then this dude Guan butted in, saying the stuff looked familiar and taunting that she was not pure anymore. He splashed water on her from behind, claiming he was cleaning her desk. She clenched her teeth, crying quietly while everyone around laughed like a bunch of jerks. Zichin watched, totally confused. He had always thought she was dangerous, but now she just seemed like a helpless girl getting bullied. Next to him, Qinghan whispered if they should help her. Zichin agreed. As he stepped up, he figured he still did not know what she really was, but right now, she did not seem scary. Just someone who needed backup. He put a firm hand on Guan's shoulder, and the guy instantly went pale. Zichin grinned and told him to wipe it up, now. Guan trembled and think this dude Zichin is no joke, smart, strong, and even the 6th graders were scared of him. Better just obey. He rushed to clean her desk. Then Zichin turned to the other bullies. He told everyone who messed with her to apologize right now. 5 scared students stepped up and mumbled an apology, practically begging for forgiveness. Tears welled in the new girl's eyes as she softly thanked Zichin and Qinghan. Qinghan put a hand on her shoulder and said that was what classmates were for. From that day on, things started to shift. Qinghan decided to make the white-haired girl Bai Shui her friend, and she usually made Lin Zichin tag along. Bai Shui looked at her 2 new friends with a real sad vibe and admitted she knows she smelled awful. She was sure they must be totally grossed out. She apologized, saying it wasn't that she didn't trust them, it was just that she'd been treated like crap her whole life. Having friends for the first time felt like some weird dream she didn't think she'd ever get to have. Qinghan just smiled warmly, and told her it wasn't a dream. She said she knew how that kind of pain felt, so she'd never be disgusted by her. She promised that as long as Bai Shui wanted it, they'd be friends forever. Hearing that, Bai Shui totally lost it. She broke down crying and hugged Qinghan tight, sobbing out how grateful she was. She told them how much it meant to have friends who shared snacks and stuck by her. Wanting to give something back, she took off this necklace she was wearing. She explained the pair of beast fangs on it were a birthday gift from her mom the year before. Now, she wanted them to have it as a friendship token. The 3 of them make all these big promises to be besties forever, totally convinced it'll last. But just when Qinghan thought their friendship was solid, things took a wild turn. Zichin came to her with some shocking news. He confirms it himself when he peeks into the principal's office and sees the new girl filling out transfer papers with some serious-looking cyborg dude. That was all the proof he needed. Baya was definitely not just some normal girl. After that day, she vanished, becoming just a fuzzy childhood memory. The weirdness didn't stop with her leaving, though. At home, the kid gives his mom a massage, and she thanks him for helping her chill out after a stressful day at work, all thanks to some skill of his. Then, on TV, a news story comes on about this 10-year-old prodigy from Kyoto who underwent some gene fusion thing and then lifted a giant boulder with one hand. The kid's dad walks in, complaining that this little show-off is always on TV, and explains the boy comes from a martial artist family with crazy advanced tech. Our MC just thinks to himself that at 8 years old, he can already lift 300 kilograms without any weird fusion nonsense. Talk about a confidence boost. He realized his potential was way bigger than he thought. But that confidence totally dipped when a breaking news report showed a beast attack in a neighboring country. Giant rats were just wrecking a whole city. It showed one of them snatching up a woman and, well, let's just say she didn't make it. The news then cut to some politician freaking out, blaming a cult for the attack. Our guy was seriously relieved to live in a strong country where he was safe. Suddenly, a strange noise followed by an explosion in the sky snapped him out of it. He rushed to the window, pulled back the curtain, and saw a bunch of cyborgs flying past. It was weird, but by the next morning, everything seemed back to normal. At school, his friend was waiting and immediately complained he was late. That's when he noticed it. The beast fang necklace Bai gave her was totally glowing. So that's where her weird aura was coming from, he finally figured. The glow faded, but he couldn't stop thinking about it. On their way to school, they passed a street lamp where a ridiculously hot gothic mommy was leaning casually against the pole. She had red hair, killer curves, and one leg crossed over the other. She held a cigarette delicately between her gloved fingers, oozing confidence and a seriously seductive vibe. She glanced at the two kids looking amused, like she found them adorable. Ching-han cheerfully turned back and clarified that they were not siblings, but childhood friends, best friends, actually. Zichin, though, kept his usual serious face. The gothic woman gave a playful, mysterious smile. With one arm folded across her waist, making her curves pop, she said she envied them, wishing she had had a bond like that with a childhood friend. Then she asked if they were walking to school alone and where their parents were. Chi-han hesitated, looking confused and about to answer, but Zichin firmly grabbed her hand and pulled her away, saying they were late for school. The gothic woman's smile lingered playfully as they left her behind. Once they were away, Zichin warned Ching-han sharply not to answer any questions from strangers. She nodded, telling him she got the message. Later that afternoon, as they cut through a narrow, empty alley on their way home, Ching-han started getting major creeps. She squeezed Zichin's hand, whispering that the silence was way too creepy. Zichin just shrugged it off, explaining that the whole neighborhood was basically a ghost town. Everyone had moved out because it was getting demolished next week. Out of nowhere, the gothic woman popped up again, leaning like she owned the place, cigarettes still dangling between her gloved fingers. She gave them a lazy wave and said it was about time they got out of school. Then she called over her shoulder to some dude, basically telling him she had snagged the kids. Zichin immediately went on alert, stepping in front of Ching-han. He had taken a different route specifically to avoid this weirdo, and now here she was, going out of her way to stalk them. Without warning, he lunged at the kids, waving a chloroform-soaked rag. This loser was clearly planning to knock them out and cash in. But Zichin was not having it. He hit the guy with a punch so hard it sent him flying before he crumpled at the woman's feet, coughing up blood. Her jaw dropped. There was no way some elementary schooler just did that. Zichin did not stop there. He turned and landed another punch right on the woman's face. Pissed off, he grabbed a brick, thinking dark thoughts. This alley had no cameras, no witnesses. If he took these two out now, no one would ever know about his powers. But before he could make his move, the ground suddenly shook like crazy. Then, bursting up from the cracked pavement was a giant, screeching rat, an errant rat, straight out of a nightmare. It chomped down on the gothic woman's head, ending her right there. Ching-han screamed, asking what the hell that thing was. Zichin did not waste time. He scooped her up like an action hero, and yelled that it was a giant errant rat, and they had to bounce. As he bolted, another figure entered the scene. This one was a cyborg, and not just any robot. She was seriously hot. Zichin could not help but notice how fast she moved, like superhuman fast. Is she really a cyborg? He wondered. She launched herself at the giant rat, and released some kind of knockout gas bomb. The blast was huge, engulfing the monster in a cloud of smoke.
The world's most accidentally OP protagonist. Our boy Yi Chuan. His age, 19. Special ability? Pig vision. That's right folks, a certified psycho. Thanks to his dad's wonderful butcher bloodline, this poor schmuck sees every human as anthropomorphic pigs. Truly, the power of gods. While everyone else gets cool stuff like S-Class Slayer or Berserk skill, the gods looked at our boy and went best I can do is 50% off pork chops. Now let's talk power scaling, or should I say, complete absence of logic. While everyone else is out here summoning meteors and crushing the ranking, our hero is like I have knife. Now let's look in his love life. Su Ling Xian literal goddess tier waifu material, childhood sweetheart who probably practiced writing Mrs. Yi in her notebooks, and our boy sees her as, what? A pig in a wig? Truly, the greatest tragedy. But hey, at least when she inevitably tries to murder him, he'll have that 50% damage reduction.